Okay, South Asia. I'm going to need this. Okay, so again, South Asia. Our agenda for today is how to answer a short answer question using your notes, and your homework is going to be summaries or fat sentences. So now a lot of you guys make the mistake of you read a short answer question and you're like, oh, I know you're supposed to cite and then explain, but what do I cite? And then you try to like give me this roundabout. It's really not that hard. At the beginning of all of the PowerPoints, at the beginning of all of the lessons, I show you the historical developments that College Board wants you to know. And for this particular one, here are the historical developments. It says Hinduism, Islam, Buddhism, and their core beliefs and practices continue to shape societies in South and Southeast Asia. That's culture. I put that in. So that's cultural, right? That's cultural. Here's another historical development. State formation and development demonstrated continuity and innovation and diversity, including the new Hindu and Buddhist states that emerged in South and Southeast Asia. Okay, so again, today we're only focusing on South Asia. So we're going to focus on the new Hindu states in South Asia. So again, for the first one that we're going to focus on is on the cultural one. Hinduism um, and Buddhism and Islam and how their core beliefs affected the society. So here's how I'm going to do the notes, right? Here's our objective. Again, this is straight out of the curriculum for College Board. It says, explain how various belief systems and practices in South and Southeast Asia affected society. This is why this is social. How did they affect society, right? Now, around 1300, right? I told you in a previous video that Islam and Muslims had come into Southeast and into South Asia and Southeast Asia. And the cultural effect that that had was Buddhism began to be spread all over China, especially Theravada Buddhism. However, it began to die out in India, right? Also, another cultural development is that Islam and Hinduism kind of had, they were clashing, right? Why were they clashing? Because Islam is monotheistic, believe in one God. Hinduism is polytheistic. Islam believes in no representations of Allah or Muhammad, so no pictures there. And Hinduism believes in endless statues and images, right? Endless statues and images. Islam believes in equality for all believers, and Hinduism believes in the caste system. Again, separate things. Sexual openness and sexual modesty. So these are completely opposing worldviews on a lot of things that are cultural. So they kind of clashed, right? So again, spread of Buddhism, it dies out. Why? Because if you look at the previous slide, if you look at the previous slide that I gave you, if you look at this, what group of people would want this instead of this? No, we got the caste system. The group of people that most likely will want to be Muslims are these guys and these guys, because these guys want to be equal, and Islam professes equality, right? So these were also the guys that had converted to Buddhism because of the same thing, because the Buddha did not want the caste system. He disagreed with the caste system, right? He agreed with a lot of other things, but he did not agree with the caste system. So these guys had chosen Buddhism, but as Islam comes in, the religion of choice becomes Islam, and Buddhism begins to die out. However, it flourishes in China. Okay, so that's one cultural development. That's one cultural development. The spread of Buddhism into China and dying out in India, and then you can explain it, right? Another cultural development is the exchange between Hindu and Islamic traditions and how they clashed. And then you can explain those as well, right? Another one was the Bhakti movement. Those that did not want to choose between, they didn't want to say, okay, I want to be either this side or that side. So they melted the two together. The Bhakti movement, it was a Hindu devotional movement that flourished in the early modern era, emphasizing music, dance, poetry, and rituals by the means of which to achieve direct union with the divine. They sought to erase the distinction between Islam and Hinduism. Later on, they would become Sikhs, right? So that's the Bhakti movement. That's the explanation. So we have culturally, again, this one and this one. Now, socially, there's a continuity. So these are changes, and here's the continuity. Socially, in the southern part of India, the caste system continues. And the caste system is based on the Hindu belief system from previous years. Okay? So again, that's a continuity. These are changes. This is cultural and the effects of Islam on South Asia. So again, why did this happen? Because of this trade, right? Even after all these people died out with the Abbasid and the Song, trade, new technologies, knowledge of the monsoons, right? The spice trade, all of those things we talked about before. We said that the Umayyad and Abbasid spread Islam. And here's, again, Islam being spread. In India specifically, here's a mosque, right? Mosque in China. So as I said before, Islam begins to spread. These are cultural beliefs. What about political? Again, here is the historical development according to College Board. State formation developed and demonstrated continuity, innovation, and diversity, including the new Hindu and Buddhist states that emerged in South Asia. So what new Hindu state emerged? Even though it's a new Hindu state, it actually demonstrates continuity. Why? Because the Hindu religion continues. So let's show this. Again, here it is. Explain how various states in South and Southeast Asia developed and maintained power. So the people that developed and maintained power, we have 3 examples of political change and 1 example of a political continuity. The political change came because of the Delhi Sultanate, also discussed in a previous video. The Delhi Sultanate begins to rule most of India. If you want to know more details, go to the previous video. This is because they were able to take over the north part of India because it lacked a centralized state. Okay. Now, as the Delhi Sultanate began to take over, there were a couple of twins that had converted to Islam. They converted to Islam, and they were sent by the Delhi Sultanate to convert the rest of southern India. As they went to the southern part of India, they decided, hey, you know what? I really like my roots. They connected with their roots again, and they decided to develop their own empire. Again, development of new Hindu states, even though Hinduism is a continuity. So they have some battles, they kick out Muslims here, and they establish the Vijayanagara Empire. Okay, so again, political changes, political continuity, I want to say, even because it's Hinduism, right? So now, how do I answer a short answer question? Here is a primary source, right? We're going to look at this primary source. We're going to pretend that this is going to be used in a short answer question, and we're going to answer the question, okay? So I'm going to give you a few minutes to read. Whenever you read this first. Who wrote this, all right? If you read it, you know that it's a speech from a female petitioner from the South Indian city of Madurai, made in the court of the king of Vijayanagara. So it's a speech of a female petitioner. Let's see what she wants, right? O king, the city of Madurai was famed for its sweet beauty, but now it has become a city of wild animals since the Muslims conquered. These darn Muslims. Its famed Hindu temples have been reduced to rubble. The mighty Kiveri River used to flow in its proper channels because our noble Hindu rulers of the past had curved the dams. They were great, right? They kept the water flowing. But now the river flows without discipline like the new Muslim lords because the dams have been damaged beyond repair. My lord, it is hard to say whether we get more troubled by hearing the howls that now live in our abandoned gardens or get more perturbed by the Persian language. Remember that the initial group that came into India was Persians that had converted, uttered by the pet parrots from the houses of these Muslims. Again, these darn Muslims. There is no agriculture left, as they angry the Lord Indra, right? It says Indra is a Hindu god of the heavens who brings thunder and rain. Has stopped sending rains. Oh, my king, the Vedas have disappeared with Dharma. Remember Dharma from past periods. Dharma's gone. Character and nobleness have disappeared, my king. This sword that you hold, they don't mean a literal sword, they mean like their power to cause war. The sword that you hold is now placed into your lotus hands by the divine providence. Take it, and without further delay, uproot or kick out from my lands these Muslim kingdom. Go forth, my lord, with your victory, and establish our new 100 victory pillars. So she's obviously petitioning the Vijayanagara king to go and kick out the Muslims from her city, right? Because they've caused all kinds of problems. All right, so that's what we're looking at, right? And if we want to have it, you have it, but that's just a summary. So now let's say I have this question in a short answer question. Identify and explain one way in which this passage illustrates the development of states in South Asia in the period before 1450. So they're asking me the development of states. If you remember, if we go back to our objective, we said that there were some developments of states, some new states, and some continuing states, changes and continuities. Now, this one is talking about the Vijayanagara and the Muslims, right? So one way in which this passage illustrates all of that, right? State formation. We can talk about the Delhi Sultanate taking over. That's one. We can talk about the Vijayanagara taking over in the south. That's another. So let's do this. Let's identify one. Let's say we're going to identify the Vijayanagara. We say a new Hindu state of Vijayanagara had developed and conquered the southern part of India. Period. I've identified it. So now I need to explain, right? So I tell you the story about the twins who had become Muslim, but then they went to the south and and created their own kingdom. And now you have the Vijayanagara and the Delhi Sultanate, or the Hindus in the south and the Muslims in the north, politically clashing. Boom, that's my explanation. Right? That's how you answer it. You don't try to think about all these other, and then you say, well, where does it say any of that here, Mr. Gonzalez? I don't see that here, Mr. Gonzalez. No. The stimulus is just that. It's supposed to stimulate your brain into thinking about the broad historical developments that we're teaching in this history class. This is not about remembering specific names and dates. It's about remembering historical developments, causes, continuities, changes, comparisons. That's what we're looking at, right? So in this case, we're looking at the development of Vijayanagara Empire. And I explained to you how it developed with those twins, right? So then we go to another question. What if they ask you this question? A cultural development, right? Cultural development. And again, I'm taking straight these questions straight out of your short answer question that you did before on the Abbasids and the Seljuks. So now we're looking at a cultural development. Let's think. This is culturally, right? Culturally, we talked about the spread of Buddhism to China and the end of Buddhism in India. Culturally, we talked about the Bhakti movement, and culturally, we talked about the continuation of the caste system. Culturally, we also talked about the clash between the two Hindus and Islamic traditions. So any of those you can say. You can say one cultural development was that Islam and Hinduism clashed, and then you explain why they clashed. You can say another cultural development was the development of the Bhakti movement, and then you explain what Bhakti movement is. Another cultural development, you could say, it was as Islam came in, Hinduism and Buddhism began to fade, and you explain why it began to fade, and you go into the explanation of, um, the lower caste wanting to be equal, and and Islam espousing equality. You have any one of those to choose from. You first identify it, and then you explain it. Again, any one of those. Are we good now? Are we good now? All right, this lecture is closed.